What up, peeps? Nick Battle, aka Nino's Corner, man. What's going on, folks? It is National Signing Day National Signing Day 24, man. 2024 National Signing Day here for the University of Texas. Folks, what a class that we have here, folks. What a class, folks. Look, I'm just gonna step through all the recruits that we got here. Just to kind of show you guys just who actually signed up here on campus. And also just kind of talk about why it is so important for the players that we did get here on campus, folks. We got a lot of great players here on campus, man. Everybody that we wanted here at Texas is here, minus one folk who is Aaron Hampton. And we'll talk about why that is not such a big loss for us here at Texas. But folks, let's just go ahead and let's just get into it. But folks, hey, first off, man, like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Just like this video, go share it, go do it, everything for that. It helps the channel grow a lot, folks. You guys been rock with me for a long time. So let's go ahead and share the screen, and we'll talk about just the different recruits that we got here on campus. And we'll just press through, with it, folks. So first recruit here, I'm going by the On3 consensus rankings here. Texas is the 5th ranked team here in the national rankings for recruiting, 3rd in the SEC behind Georgia and Alabama. And the first guy that we get here, folks, that we would love to see that is here on this campus, man, is Colin Simmons, man. He is the best edge in the country. He's probably the best edge that Texas has gotten that has been a 5-star guy to come here on campus, probably since Jackson Jeffcoat. Look, I love Joseph Asai. I thought he was a great player here at Texas, but he didn't come with all of the, 5-star status hoopla that a guy like Colin Simmons comes with. Colin Simmons being already at 6'3", 225, and I've heard that number is really up to about 230 or so now. He's an early guy, so he'll be in here in January. He is, the 2nd ranked edge in the country, the 11th ranked player here in the country, and the 4th ranked player in the state of Texas, and a 5-star plus player, folks. He's a guy that can come in and honestly potentially get a lot of snaps next year, folks. In 2024, he's going to get a lot of snaps. Think of what Texas has done with a guy like Anthony Hill, and also what Texas has done with a guy like Manny Muhammad. Those are 5-star guys, and CJ Baxter. Those guys got a lot of run this year. Also, the next receiver to actually come off of the bench was Jonte Cook, who was also a 5-star guy as well. So Texas is killing it when it comes to getting those 5-star guys and also letting them produce and do great things here for the University of Texas. So Colin Simmons is the bell cow for this class, as he should be, being one of the best edges here in the country, and he's going to be a guy that's going to help immensely here at Texas once he steps on campus. Next guy I want to talk about, folks, is Brandon Baker out of California, folks. Another 5-star guy, 6'4.5", so 6'5", about 300 pounds. He is a consensus 5-star as well, the number 25th ranked prospect in the country, the number 2nd ranked prospect in the state of California, and the 2nd ranked prospect at the tackle position. Looks like he's a guy that can slide all over at the tackle position, whether it's left or right, but it seems like he fits more in at that right tackle position. And folks, you're going to see next year for sure. We understand that the starting left tackle is Kelvin Banks Jr., folks. We get that. The starting right tackle next year is probably going to be Cam Williams. But after next year, folks, we're looking at the opportunity for Kelvin Banks Jr. to leave and go to the league. And he probably will, leave and go to the league and be a top 10 pick in the draft. And that gives the opportunity for more competition at that left tackle. Maybe even a guy like Cam Williams sliding over to that left tackle position, and it leaves something for Brandon Baker to actually fight it out with guys like Jaden Chapman and Andre Kojo and the Trevor Goosebys, those guys to fight between who's going to play left tackle and right tackle. So you're seeing what Sark is doing. Excuse me, guys. We're going into the SEC. We got to fortify our lines, so we get great edge, with Colin Simmons, and also great tackle play here in the on the signing day today, folks, with the top tackle prospect, or one of the top tackle prospects here in the country, in Brandon Baker. Gotta love what you're seeing here. Then next, folks, what does Stark go do? He goes to Missouri, and he goes and gets a guy named Ryan Wingo, folks. We see Ryan Wingo, a 6'2", 210-pound wide receiver out of St. Louis, Missouri, who is going to play that boundary wide receiver. Think about a guy like A.D. Mitchell, but probably with just some more speed. This guy is sick. As a freshman with that size already at 6'2", 210 pounds, you have to understand what Sark is doing with the recruits that he is getting here on campus, folks. This is truly outstanding and amazing. Ryan Wingo, a beast, a dog. You got to love what you're seeing from him and what Sark is going to be bringing here on campus. And I think that Ryan Wingo is one of those guys to where he's going to be a guy that has the opportunity to play early, folks. Excuse me, I got the calls for some reason. He's going to play early, folks. He has the opportunity to play early because he is just that talented of an athlete. Um, Look, I just love to pick up by him, man. We need wide receivers. We're losing A.D. Mitchell, possibly losing X, losing Jordan Whittington, and we got to shore up the wide receiver position as well because without those wideouts here in Sark's offense, his offense is it's all predicated from the tight end to the wide receiver as well, folks. But look, getting a guy like Ryan Wingo is going to shore up that boundary wide out position. You couple him with a guy like Jonte Cook, and also couple him with a guy like Matthew Golden, and possibly Texas is in the runnings now also for a guy named Aaron Butler out of California, who is choosing between Washington, Arizona, and Texas. So he said he's going to decide later on this week. So we see exactly what Sark's doing. You got to love what you're seeing here, man. I'm excited about it. Next person, folks, we want to talk about Xavier Phillips, right? He is a 5-star guy, folks. He's a 5-star per the 247 Sports their rankings, but he is a composite 4-star guy, a national top 33 ranked player in the country at safety. One thing that Texas has needed to get done here over the last cycles is we got to get that safety position shored up a little bit better than what it is. And look, bringing in a guy like X here is just honestly truly outstanding because we got to get more guys like a Derek Williams back there with the speed, the range, and the size. And that's something that we've been lacking here on the 40 acres for just quite some time here. But getting a guy like Xavier Phillips at the safety position, we're seeing what Texas is doing with the depth of that position in the secondary to see how this team is going to move going into the SEC. Now, if anybody has to peg what the weakest link on the Texas team is right now, people are going to say the secondary. And I don't think the secondary is weak at all. I don't think it's weak at all, folks. It's just that we're so great across the board everywhere else that our secondary has to get picked on a little bit because we stopped to run so well. But in saying all that, we do need better play from the safeties just as far as speed. And so I think Derek Williams brings that. And now you couple that with guys like, X here. And the next person that I want to talk about here in this list, which is Kobe Black. So Kobe Black being a guy who is a cornerback. He's a 4-star composite cornerback out of Waco Connolly, 6'1", 190 pounds. And he's every bit of that size right now. But he's one of those guys, folks, that can play all over the place too. Same thing with Xavier Phillips to me. These guys are playing positionless football. They're very versatile in what they can do here for the Texas Longhorns going into 2024. Kobe Black can play cornerback. He can also move back to play a little bit of safety. And both these guys, Phillips and Black, they can pinch down and play in the slot if need be at that star position. So you're looking at versatility, positionless football here at Texas for this 2024 class. Absolutely love it. You got to love what you're seeing here from the recruiting standpoint here at Texas. The next guy I want to talk about, folks, is Jared Gibson, 5'9.5", so 5'10", 215 pound running back from the IMG Academy. Texas was in a dogfight with the Florida schools here, so I think you had Florida State won him, Miami, pretty much anybody in the country, they wanted Jared Gibson, but Texas was in a dogfight for this one. Texas had his commitment here for quite some time now, but Texas gets him, and he signs, and he brings not only some great size into that running back room, but he's going to bring a lot of versatility too. He's a guy that's going to run you over. So we got to see exactly what his feet are going to be like here at the next level. But you got to understand that he's not going to come in and be expected to play right away at Texas. Texas has some dogs that are right in front of him, folks. You got guys that, look, you got CJ Baxter, you got Jaden Blue, you got Savion Red, and then you also got Trey Wisner as well, folks. So we're seeing right now that, bringing in a Jared Gibson, he can sit back and he can, basically learn. He can soak it all up. He can learn. He can let the game of football slow down for him over these first few months here at Texas before he might be called upon to play, which is a beautiful thing when you're able to stack that kind of talent in a room that is already deep. So Jared Gibson is an outstanding pickup here for the University of Texas. Next guy I want to talk about, folks, is Wardell Mack out of Marrero, Louisiana, man. So that's right around the NOLA area. 6'1", 170-pound cornerback that Texas, actually flipped over from Florida as well. So Texas flipped him and Xavier Phillips. But Mack is one of those guys too, who's a cornerback, but very versatile. Same thing with Kobe Black. Same thing with Phillips, is that it is positionless football with these guys. Yes, he is recruited as a cornerback, but he has the perfect size where he can slide to safety if need be. He can play in the slot as need be as well. And so you're seeing this great versatility amongst these defensive backs, because in a pinch, there are going to be times where some of these guys are going to get hurt. It's football. That's the business of football, right? It's how many of these guys can you place on the field at the same time? If all these guys are recruited to be a cornerback and there's only 2 cornerbacks on the field, at each time, minus the slot, how are you going to get these guys in the field? Well, this is when we talk about the versatility. Some of these guys might have to slide back to safety. And if they are able to slide back to safety and do great things at that position, you can get your most talented players on the field all the time. Positionless football. Way to go, Gideon and Joseph from getting those great backs here in Mack, Black, and also Philsamy. Next guy I want to talk about, folks, is Daniel Cruz. Daniel Cruz, if you're listening to anything that Sark has been saying about this guy, and also just hearing the rumblings from what Coach Flood has been saying too about Cruz, is that he might be the best center here in the country. All right, they think he might be the best center in the country. So bringing him in to be able to compete next year with the likes of Connor Robinson and, Cole Hudson might actually be moving to center too. Well, I shouldn't say that. He has been cross-training at center over this past year, but having a guy like Cole Hudson and having Connor Robinson, and now you throw in like a Daniel Cruz in there as well, folks, to compete at the center position, you're looking at your line is going to be something special, for the next coming years here going into the SEC. So I love this pickup. You're seeing that Texas is addressing what they need to go into that conference, folks, getting the line short up. We saw, like we said on defense, getting a guy like Colin Simmons at the edge, but then on the offensive side of the ball, getting a Brandon Baker at tackle, right? Getting Daniel Cruz to come in at center, and then the other offensive lineman, which we will talk about here pretty soon later on. But you're seeing that this is a complete class when it comes to strictly recruiting and the prospects that Texas is bringing in, a very complete class. This isn't just a bunch of talent that is thrown together in one class. This is a complete class that fits the needs and fits what the team's going to look like on the football field. Not heavy rotation of wide receivers, not a heavy rotation of cornerbacks, and no defensive alignment, and very minimum offensive alignment. None of that. This is a complete recruiting class here that Texas has gotten in. What's up, Odd Future, man? Thanks for joining in, buddy. The next person, folks, we want to talk about here is Santana Wilson, cornerback, 173 pounds, 6 foot, out of Scottsdale, Arizona. He's he's a consensus 4-star guy as well. And what do we like about him? He's another guy that plays cornerback extremely well, but he's very versatile as well, folks. You're going to get tired of me saying positionless football and versatility, but that's what this class has in spades. These guys can play in the secondary, all across the secondary, and that's something that you got to love. So again, shout out to Terry Joseph. Shout out to Gideon for getting these guys here in the bucket here, because these are going to be some great players to not only have the opportunity to play next year, but bring some great depth. Kind of behind the likes of a Manny Muhammad and a Terrence Brooks, and also a Derek Williams, Michael Taft. Don't forget about Michael Taft, who's always in the right spot. He's picking balls off. He's doing what he has to do. And so, yeah, man, we're having a lot of opportunity for some depth and some great competition. Iron sharpens iron, folks. And so this is going to be great for the players who are on campus and the ones that are coming in as well. Man, This might be one of my favorite players here in the class, man. DeAndre Robinson, 6'3.5", so 6'4", 315-pound interior offensive lineman. So he is also a consensus 4-star guy as well. Look, anytime Bo Davis goes and gets a guy on the line, especially on the interior, you just got to trust that, man. He is a great developer of talent. We've seen what he has done with 3-star talent. And a guy like Sweat, a guy like Byron Murphy, those guys were 3-stars coming to Texas. And now we have seen the best out of them underneath Bo Davis. And look, folks, that development for those guys has been truly outstanding. Now Bo Davis gets no kidding, a kid that's 6'4", 315 pounds at 17, 18 years old. He gets to mold that piece of clay and into a great work of art once he is done. And I tell you what, Texas building up those trenches again, folks. This is going to be a story that we're going to hear about. Texas here is building up those trenches. Texas building up those trenches here going into the SEC. You have a guy like Robinson to back up. If Collins decides to come back or if he leaves, but you got Vernon Broughton, you got Aaron Bryant, you got Bledsoe, right? You got Sadir Mitchell. You got a lot of guys who are going to be on this line next year, but then you bring in guys like DeAndre Robinson to back them up and to compete. One thing about the Florida kids, though, Florida's not like Texas, folks. We understand that all the talent we say comes from Texas, Florida, and California. Florida doesn't have the resources where a coach can be a coach 24/7. If I'm not mistaken, Florida, their coaches are actually teachers too as well. It's not like Texas football where these kids in Texas come in just extremely developed because their coach is the coach and their coach has no other job but to coach. And so you're seeing that usually the coaches are the highest paid person in that district when it comes to, a job in the city or in the district. They're usually like the highest paid person because Texas football is big. And so is Florida football, but they just don't have the facilities and the resources that, some of these kids here, have in Texas. So it might take a guy like Robinson to develop his body before he is, ready to come in and actually compete, from day one. Almost like what we saw with, CJ Baxter. CJ Baxter had to come in. We saw him banged up a little bit just because his body had to get used to that, right? Wasn't developed. These guys are like raw pieces of clay when they come from Florida, folks. So, but I'm in love with this pickup, man. Robinson's going to be just a great asset for this team. You bring him at 315, he'll probably bulk up to 330, 340 within a year or so, folks. And you team that up with a 330, 340 pound Mitchell. Vernon Broughton at 300 pounds as well. And, Terrell Carter at 310. And, folks, we got some damage, folks. I love what Texas is doing. I love what Texas did in this recruiting class. It's a team. It is a complete group of players that are a team, not just a combination of talent, right? You can see that this Texas coaching staff values recruiting prospects to make a team, not just get the highest rated guys to come onto their team as prospects. Because if the top 15 players are all 5-stars from the cornerbacks, you can't take 15 cornerbacks. You got to put a complete team on the field, and you're seeing what Sarkis doing with that. All right, next player, man, Ed, 6'4", 221 pounds, Zena Umeozulu, who is the brother of Neto. This is an edge prospect. National top 289th ranked player in the country per the On3 consensus. Here we go again. Texas bringing in edgy guys at 6'4", 221 pounds. You got to love Zena. And then you couple that with Colin Simmons, who is the best edge in the country. Oh, man, Texas is cooking up, doing great things here. This is a top 50 player in the state of Texas. He's a consensus 4-star guy. He's a guy that a whole lot of teams wanted, as a prospect to come to their campus, and he's signed, sealed, and delivered here to Texas. Zena's going to be a great player, folks. A really good player. But look here, folks. We're bringing in Colin Simmons at that edge, and you paired it with Barron Sorrell and Colton Vasek. He's coming in next year. Just off of injury. He was here this year, but he didn't play this year. Ethan Burke, also Justice Finkley, Jamon Tapp. You're seeing what Texas is building at the edge position. And then you have guys like Colin Simmons and Zena to come in and learn from those guys behind them and maybe see some time in the field in pass rushing situations. I've already said it. I think Colin Simmons is probably going to be one of those guys that's going to get a bunch of snaps this year. He's just built different, right? He's just built different. But watch out for Zena too. Zena's going to be he's going to have the opportunity to flash, and if he can, show that he can get to that quarterback this year, he's going to get a lot of snaps too. But he's got to show that he can definitely get to that quarterback this year because there's some guys in front of him like a Darian Gillette, Akana as well. We got a lot of guys in front of these guys, but the way to build championship rosters and what Sark is doing, which I think Sark's kind of like a year ahead right now on building that championship roster, is you stack depth on depth on depth. And these kids do not want to leave because they see what you're doing. They see where this program is going, and they understand if that they work hard, they're going to have the opportunity to play. You got to think, man. We have a former walk-on who's starting at safety, which shows that there is no favoritism here. Right? They're not looking at the stars and who is recruiting. They're looking at who's going to make plays. And if you make plays here at Texas, you're going to be able to start and compete for championships. And that's what Coach Sarkisian is building here. And these guys are going to have to come in ready to play and just compete and be great depth now and possibly get in the field here after actually competing. The next guy, man, I'm very high on Christian Clark. Christian Clark, man, 5'11", 195 pounds. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Outstanding out of the backfield, folks. You got to love what you see out of Christian Clark, a consensus 5-star guy. I'm sorry, a consensus 4-star, not 5-star, folks. So he's a 4-star guy coming out of Arizona. Tough runner, a lot of wiggle. He's the, if you're looking at a Thunder and Lightning, running back duo, for Texas, look, you got it. You got your Thunder, the guy who's going to bruise you, and Jared Gibson, and then you got your Lightning guy, who is Christian Clark, who he just does everything so well. Catches the ball out of the backfield, makes the right, one cut in. He has great vision. And look, he is going to be a problem too. But Texas is stacking that running back room. So a guy like Jared Gibson and a guy like Christian Clark, they're able to come into Texas their first year and get their bodies right. Let their bodies mature. Let their bodies mature, man. And once those bodies mature, they'll be able to come and do great things at Texas when called upon. Luckily for these guys, they are going to be able to sit back and let their bodies mature because you got some guys in front of you who can ball. CJ Baxter, Jaden Blue, Red, Wisner, and then you put in that room Christian Clark and Gibson as well. And there you have it, folks. You have one of the best running back rooms in the country, I feel. So got to love it. Next player, folks, in this list, man, Parker Livingstone. What's up, Mr. 512? I see you, baby. I see you. What's going on, man? So Parker Livingstone, 6'3", 190-pound wide receiver out of Lucas, Texas, Lovejoy High School. So Parker tore his knee up this year. I think he played a little bit in the playoffs, but he didn't play too much in the season. I think he played 1 or 2 games throughout the season. Man, he can run. People don't sleep on Parker Livingstone, folks. Don't you sleep on Parker Livingstone, man. This kid can run. And he's a big dude, too. At 6'3", 390 pounds, he can run. He can fly. I think he ran a 200, and I don't know the times off the top of my head, but they were some pretty low times, man. Like he was smoking fast, bro. I love Parker Livingstone. The numbers that he was pulling, those numbers that he was putting up at the top of the year prior to him tearing his knee up. My God, it was like 12 catches, 200 and some yards. I mean, he was like the offense. He was the offense. So Texas might have got a steal with that one. They might have got a steal with Parker Livingstone. And I know that he had a bunch of offers too from a lot of schools as well, but great evaluation, from Chris Jackson and team. And they were able to reel that in. And he's been through and through with Texas since, he committed. And I'm excited. And he has some dope shirts too with the cowboy hat. I got to go buy me one, Parker, man. I think one of your folks sent me the link, but I'm definitely going to go buy that. And I think that's with his own, package. So I'll buy that and just support him and what he's doing for himself as a businessman as well. Next guy, folks, is that safety, Jordan Johnson-Rebel. And all the reports that are coming out now are saying that Jordan Johnson-Rebel is going to be one of those guys who's going to come in and he is going to, fit in at the nickel position, playing that star, man, where Barron had a great career here at Texas. And if Barron decides to leave, that star position is going to be wide open. It's going to be wide open because you're going to have guys like Jalen Gilbo who can come and play. And people forget Kibble actually started the season 2 years ago before Barron. Gilbo's a baller. He's a baller, man. He can play. But you bring in the competition. You have Gilbo who will come in and just off seniority, man, he'll probably be the starter off the top, like running with the ones, but he's gonna have some pressure behind him. Jordan Johnson Rebel, guys like I said, Kobe Black and Santana Wilson and Phil Simi, and these guys can play the slot too as well, right? Mack, having a guy like Wardell Mack. So, but like I said before, Jordan Johnson Rebel is one of those guys who is positionless football as well. He's a guy that can come in and play safety or play the nickel as well. So you gotta love Jordan Johnson Rebel. We're almost done, folks. I want to kind of get in and finish this before 6:00. Next person is Freddy the Boy Jr., 6 foot, 170-pound wide receiver. Out of Smithson Valley High School, out of Schertz, Texas. He's also a consensus 4-star guy. Freddie was also a guy who tore his knee up, but I think he ran a 10.4 or a 10.5 100-meter dash prior to him tearing his knee up, and now he came back and actually played in the playoffs this year too, and actually played the season. I heard reports from some friends of mine who are in that area that after he tore his knee up, I think a few months, maybe 3 to 4 months after, he was still running straight line like a 10.6 100-meter dash kind of speed. Shows you the athletic ability, of Freddie. And so Texas went and got them a good one too on this one too as well. I saw a clip from his playoff game where he kind of climbed the ladder to go get the ball, making contested catches at that size at 6 foot 170 pounds is something that is necessary for a guy like him, because it's one thing that we have kind of been missing over the years is those wide receivers. This is prior to AD getting there, right? You know what I'm saying? Those wideouts going to go make those contested catches, right? And so having a guy that can go up there and make those contested catches, it's going to help out his quarterback a lot. Okay, next guy, folks, is Trey Owens. He is also a consensus 4-star quarterback. Perfect pickup. I think 45 touchdowns to 4 picks this year, 71%. He completed 71% of his passes this year. He's just a guy that you can tell bleeds burnt orange, which is what you got to love. He wants to come play for Texas, not at Texas. Having Trey Owens come in, and this is going to be a spot where you had Quinn here, and now Quinn might come back, for 2024, but then you go recruit Arch Manning, right? And so having Arch Manning in the fold, a lot of kids wouldn't want to come behind Arch Manning, man. And so Trey Owens accepted the challenge and understands that he wants to come and be developed by one of the best quarterback developers here in the country, in Steve Sarkisian. And so getting a guy like Trey Owens, who's 6'5", and I heard on the podcast that he was about 235 pounds now, right? So he's 6'5", 235. So that's a big dude, man. You got him and Arch. Those guys are some big kids between 6'4" and 6'5" and about 230 pounds or so. So great pickup by Texas here too, because you see Steve Sarkisian like a pocket passer who can make all the throws, and you see Trey Owens can make all those throws. He has the arm strength and the talent to do that. So I love the pickup of Trey Owens. We're almost done, folks. Almost done. Alex January, Duncanville. He was the MVP of. He was a 6A defensive MVP, if I'm not mistaken, this year. I think this kid is severely underrated. 6'5", 322 pounds. We already talked about it earlier, folks, about how Sark is building these teams from the trenches up. And so you already got a guy like DeAndre Robinson to come in from Florida. And now you got, he's a 6'4", 310-pound 18-year-old. And now Alex January, a 6'5", 322-pound, defensive lineman, interior guy. You're building those trenches up, and these guys are going to compete for the opportunity to get some snaps this year. But if their recruitment mimics kind of what happened with, having a guy like Sadir Mitchell come here on campus, those guys probably going to get a lot of snaps this year. They're probably going to be manned by like guys like, Mitchell and, Bledsoe and Aaron Bryant and, Terrell Carter and Vernon Broughton. And if Alfred Collins decides to come back, you're going to have a lot of depth there. But having two 18-year-olds that are 320 plus at 6'4", 6'5", is something that you can't sneeze at, man. So you got to love that. Nate Kibble, next guy, interior offensive lineman. Nate Kibble. 6'3", 315 pounds out of Humble, Texas. He was one of the guys who was up for an offensive award for the Houston football banquet here. I say about 2 weeks ago. But this is a perfect pickup for Texas too, because you get a guy who's already 315. This guy has sneaky long arms, man. He's about I think he has an 81 or 82-inch wingspan, right? So he's freakishly long. And you put him at the interior offensive line next to a guy like Daniel Cruz eventually, and then a guy like Brandon Baker at tackle. And let's say that you kind of fortify that right side. Let's say Brandon Baker, excuse me. Let's say you had Brandon Baker at right tackle. And then next to him is Nate Kibble. And then next to him is Daniel Cruz. And then you fill in from the previous classes, whether it's a Connor Stroh or Andre Kojo or, Peyton Kirkland, whoever. Texas has definitely secured the trenches on the offensive line. You see what this staff is doing. They are building this team from the trenches up. And Nate Kibble was a guy who was an A&M lean. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was committed to A&M, but don't hold me to that. But he was an A&M lean. He had offers from a lot of teams here in the country. Texas secured his commitment a long time ago, and he signed. He signed today. So great pickup by him. Next one, guys. Look, man, Melvin Hills. He's one of my favorite recruits. I just interviewed Melvin, last week. 6'3", 275-pound, lineman here out of Lafayette, Louisiana, folks. And you guys know Louisiana is near and dear to my heart. I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana. I got some cousins that play ball at the D1 level, at the P5 level too, from Louisiana. And I just love my state. I was born and raised in Louisiana, so I love to cover talent from that area. Melvin Hills is a guy who was just stupid good this year and stupid good last year, but 80-something tackles this year, 20-something or 25 tackles for loss, 14 or 15 sacks this year, had an outstanding senior season. And with me talking to him, he has just a workman-like attitude. And he told me personally that when he came into high school and was freshman and sophomore, him being the size he was, the job still just wasn't handed to him. He had another guy that had D1 offers that was in front of him, so he had to work his way into being the starter. So he's a great culture fit for the University of Texas too as well, because he understands, man, he's going to come in and he's going to be one of those guys a la Alfred Collins or a Vernon Broughton, who might have to sit for a couple years and develop. But once they are developed and they hone their skills and be taught by both Davis, man, beautiful things here on the horizon here for Texas on that defensive line. Next guy is going to be Michael Kern, kicker out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He's a consensus 3-star. He's a number 2 ranked kicker in the country. Texas continues to bring in depth there, man. So not much more to say about that. And then, of course, we got 2 transfers. Andrew Makuba, if you guys saw my video yesterday where I talked about the transfers, and also Matthew Golden. These guys bring extreme experience to the secondary when it comes to Andrew, and then for the wide receiver position, what is losing guys like X and possibly Mitchell and of course Worthy as well, and Casey Kane, him transferring. That wide receiver room could go from a positive and being really stacked to being quite light, but having a guy like Matthew Golden who can come in and pretty much score from anywhere in the field, punt returns, kickoff returns, wide receiver, great pickup by Texas as well. But folks, that is the class in a nutshell. I just wanted to talk to you guys about that and just go over the 2024 class. I want to look at some of these comments before I get up out of here, folks. So Mr. 512 says, my sleepers, offense, Parker Livingstone, defense, Santana Wilson. Those are good sleepers. I like Parker Livingstone, so he might be one of my favorites too in the class. And then, having a guy like Santana Wilson with NFL pedigree, in his blood, his dad was, Adrian Wilson that played for the Cardinals, man. So yeah, those are great sleeper picks. And then one last comment, from Hicks, man. We got my boy, Ladarius Hicks. Sark is treating this year's recruiting class like an NFL draft. Exactly. He's building a team. But folks, hey, man, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys dialing in and tuning in. Just making these live streams what they are, man. You guys mean the most to me. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. But I'm out, man. Go like, comment, and subscribe. In this podcast, like I end all of them, do you. Don't be afraid to fail. Outgrow your environment. Understand your brilliance. Nino's Corner, I'm out. Hook them all day long. Horns always up. 2024 recruiting class number 3 or number 4 or 5 in the nation. Don't matter. We them horns. Hook them. Deuces.